Hi guys. Um, I'm excited to see you. It's been a couple of days. My fault, obviously. The electricity has been a little bit better in the past couple of days. Basically, I'm just gonna give you the lowdown of the past few days and everything that happened. Sort of like not in terms of me, but in terms of Ukraine. Hi, Scooter. Hi, Lauren. Hi Brandy, hi Prexis, hi Armin, hi Ian, hi Grumpy, and hi Tyrannus. Or Arthur. Hi Frank. Hi Joe. Hello everyone. So good to see you. So the light situation has been a little better in the past 2 days, and by a little better, I mean like, oh my gosh, so much better. We've only had 4 hours worth of turn offs in the past 2 days. Apparently, there is a reactor block. That has been repaired. So that has added to the ability to distribute more electricity. And then also the heat broke and it's not like deathly outside, which is so nice. Like you have no idea how much you learn to appreciate the little things when you actually like live in these kinds of circumstances. Like I never thought I would be so happy. Hi, Andy. Patrols the world. That's so funny. Um, so yeah, you learn to appreciate the little things so much. Like, I don't know, there have you moved to Ukraine? Yes, a couple of months ago. Oh, thank you for resubscribing, Rebecca's. I really appreciate that. Um, yeah, it's been much better in the past couple of days. Honestly, it's been a godsend in terms of like the electricity situation. Sydney has been feeling way better because in these sort of like when the heat was at like 41 degrees Celsius and a couple of months, Yulia. Yeah, well, a few months. Okay, Grumpy. I'm sorry. For me, a couple doesn't actually mean two. It means like a few. You know, difficulties of translation of being whatever. Yes, a few months ago. Why do you have to why do I have to pick on such little details, Grumpsies? But so yeah, it's been like really helpful because to be honest, one of the things that I was really worried about with this heat is that like if I leave home, I don't necessarily want to take Cindy home with me because it's really hot outside, right? And the sun is like directly shining on her, and I've seen so many dogs like having heat strokes and stuff like that, so I didn't want to do that to her. And also then we would also have to go up 15 flights, and normally she can do it no problem, but when it's super hot outside and she's already panting, because like it doesn't matter if she's a French bulldog or any other dog, like dogs were not doing well in this heat. But then also when you leave her inside and there is no electricity, it's like a hot box here. And so it was like a really big worry of mine. You know, I didn't want to leave her at home alone, but also didn't want to take her with me because both of these situations were bad. So now it's kind of nice because like it's not so hot. I can open windows when I leave. So it's like, some fresh air circulates. It's not like horrible heat. So it's been much better because I've been less worried about her. I've done like so many home chores that I've been needing to do for a long time. You have no idea. I mean, like I've been doing chores and like I've told you so many times about my stupid schedule where it's like the 2 hours we have electricity, I just go into like a desperate housewife mode and do everything that needs to be done. And I had like laundry to do every single day because any piece of like clothing, any garment I would wear 5 minutes later, it'd be like soaked and disgusting. But yeah, so I've been able to do some like better I've been able to have better time management. Anyways, like, you know what? Having electricity is just freaking nice. Like, I don't know why I'm explaining this for an hour, but it's just like, it's so nice. And you learn to appreciate it so much. Like, I've had like 2 power turnoffs today. One was 2 hours in the morning and one was like 2 hours just now, or maybe 3 hours. And you know what? This is fantastic. This is great. This is like such a little inconvenience. It doesn't even matter because after having like electricity turnoffs that were 8 hours each, or 9 hours or more, and only having electricity for 4 hours a day, I feel like these 2 hour cutoffs are literally like nothing. It's nothing. It's just like, oh, whatever. Oh, you know, forget about it. It's just 2 hours. Like that's nothing. I can just like go have, I don't know, lunch or dinner or walk cine in that time frame, or like go to a cafe and work or something. It is literally nothing. Yeah, you really learn to appreciate these things. And also I've realized it gives you like not funny, no PTSD is funny, but it's sort of like with air raids, right? When I went to Poland with my mom and there were no air raids, it was weird because I just constantly expected an air raid to come on and they weren't, and it was just strange. So I feel like when I go to New York in September, because I need to, the fact that I'm not going to have to ration electricity in my house is like, the thought of that is weird to me. Like, it is so weird. It's like, wow. So you're telling me I can come home at any point and I don't have to check if I have power? Like, that's not part of the routine? Wild. Luxurious life. So yeah, there is that. All of my dogs are in the vets with parvo and I'm lost without them. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh no, parvo is so bad. I hope everything is going to be okay with them. Why is electricity better? Heat broke. Also, they repaired one of the blocks at a nuclear power station. So one of the reasons why the electricity cuts were also so bad is obviously because of the heat, because electricity consumption raises. But also, if we even discount the heat, a lot of the blocks, like electricity distributing blocks, are being repaired for winter because, right now it's bad, but let's face it, it's better to not have AC and like power in the heat than not have power in the cold, because you can actually freeze to death. So what they've been doing is they've been repairing electricity distributions lines and electricity blocks at nuclear power plants. And so obviously that takes away from the ability to produce and distribute power. But they're doing this with the anticipation of the winter. So I would much rather sacrifice electricity now than in the winter. So yeah, there is that. Nick Pereira, привет. Hi. So yeah, so that's been one of the reasons. Also, before we start the news, because I actually don't have any personal stories to really catch you up on, but before we start the news, you remember my classmate, the same one that we raised about $1,200 for in the entirety of the period that we've been fundraising for electronic warfare generators and stuff like that equipment. So I've been really bad at going live, obviously. It's been some super busy weeks with very little electricity available. And there are many reasons for why I haven't been going live. I've just been genuinely like dead and exhausted. But so he created a fundraiser on, he created he started spreading the fundraiser. And so first of all, he ended up needing a lot more equipment than he originally, can I just, one second. Скажіть, будь ласка, як можна переїхати в США, якщо вже була там в програмі U4U? Я не імміграційний офіцер. Я справді нічого не знаю про імміграцію, і, напевно, більшість американців чи людей, які живуть в Америці, також не знають. Тому це дуже дивне запитання. Я розумію, що ви, напевно, це запитали, тому що я говорю дуже американською англійською, але, я поняття не маю. Я ніколи цією програмою не цікавилась і сама на ній ніколи не перебувала. So here is where I was at. Sitting at the airport, waiting on a flight home. I'm happy I caught your live. Hi, Martin. So basically it ended up being 30,000 hryvnias, which, 300,000 hryvnias is the amount of money that he needed for all of his equipment, which is a lot more than we budgeted for. But with our help and with his own sort of spreading stuff online, he's at 234,254. So basically let's call it 235,000. So that's 65,000 away from goal, which is $1,500, give or take, away from the goal. And I think that maybe we could help with that last stretch. Most of the amount has been raised and that's freaking phenomenal. I don't know what other equipment was there on the list, but when I was like talking to him last, he was like, oh my gosh, like I don't think you'll be able to do this entire fundraiser, because to that like electronic warfare to the thing that intercepts basically drone footage, we need this and that on top. And like, there's just like, you know, he's basically the only person in his unit who like tries to fundraise and has like some sort of the ability to fundraise and in general. And he's like the only tech like savvy person there, as it turns out. So yeah, he's basically trying to get all the equipment that they're missing. So what I'm going to do is I am going to copy this Monobank link and I'm going to send it into my mod chat on IG and ask you guys to put. So spoiler alert, if you are in Canada or the US for some reason, or like the UK or other European countries, very often for some reason, Monobank will not take your debit cards. It will only let you donate from a credit card. So if you wanted to donate to the fundraiser and you don't want to donate to the fundraiser through the Monobank, or you don't want to donate to it through or you don't know how to do it, or like whatever, you guys can always donate through my link in bio through PayPal and Venmo and Revolut, and yeah, PayPal, Venmo, and PayPal, Venmo, and Revolut, and I will forward the donations there. It usually does take like a day or something for me to do that, because I need to first like reroute them to my Ukrainian bank and then send it to my classmate. So as per usual, the tally is all the donations are going to be talked about on are going to be announced on live, and we're going to keep the tally. So let's close this fundraiser. There is only $1,500 left. I mean, it's not like $1,500 is nothing, but it is not, you know, it's not like a huge crazy amount. It's not 4,000 or 5,000 or 6,000 like we thought before. It's $1,500 that's left. Also, thank you, Extrana, for subscriptions. Also, thank you. So we have our first $50 for the closing of the fundraiser. Also, mods, if you are on YouTube, and you have the ability to send the link to the fundraiser that I sent in Instagram in the comments, because I can't do that. My phone is not tied to this computer. Then I will be happy to pin it so people can also donate through Monobank if that's you know, easier or more convenient for them. There are also sometimes Ukrainians on these lives. Also, thank you, Rebecca's, for sending a subscription, and thank you for a gift. Thank you, Carlos. Oh, that's so nice of you. Okay, so there is the subscription thing here, and I'm just going to, I can't pin it, but I can show it on the screen, and you guys can plug the charger in. I don't need it, Rebecca's. My phones are charged, thank you very much. It's just sticking out of my computer. Jesus. Thank you, Zero, and thank you, Grumpy. God, you guys like being on my ass about things. Oh my God. Okay, so thank you, Carlos. Hi, Cheryl. Harris, Kelly. I actually support that. Okay, so before we get into the news about Ukraine, Biden stepped down. I wish he had done that earlier. Oh, Kat. Okay, so we got another $50 from Kat, which brings us to $100 out of like $1,500 that's left for Mikhailo's fundraiser for electronic warfare equipment. Also, Ozzy, thank you so much for being a member for 7 months. Okay, so hear me out. If only we could have AOC. Oh, I so don't agree with you on that. I absolutely despise that woman for so many reasons. I would probably cry in a closet if AOC was running, because inevitably, obviously, I want a Democrat in office, but I cannot stand her, and I will not go on a tirade of why I can't stand her. She also voted to not seize assets of Russian oligarchs in the United States, because she was citing the American Constitution. But you know what? Please don't get me started on the AOC, because the people who have followed me for a very long time and know my stance on American politics and on AOC and things like that, I absolutely so don't like that woman. And I just don't want to take up all the time from the live to talk about it. And I'm like, already can't shut up. I just like, I have such a strong freaking dislike of her. You can't even imagine. Okay. We also just got another $25. So we're at 125, which is super, super good and super cool. She's a bit out there. It's not about her being a bit out there. I don't agree on a lot of the things that she does, and I don't agree on a lot of the things she says. And I also think that she's like a far left tanky. And I think that her stance on Ukraine is awful. And for someone who says I like AOC, bye, goodbye. I mean, like, what? Like, I'm not allowed to have an opinion. I am, and so are you. You don't have to announce your exit, but goodbye. Have a good night. Anyways, so yes, Mark, I think that we're gonna get Kamala Harris no matter what, and because she's the only one who is going to be able to use the campaign money that has already been raised, and she's the only one who can just retake the campaign under her wing, right? I mean, like, Kamala Harris has very low likability. That's the problem. But I think if we could get like a really good running mate, a really good VP, then she would wipe the floor with Trump, no problem. So I personally hope that it would be Mark Kelly. I really like Mark Kelly. I think it has to be a guy from a swing state. I mean, not a guy, but it has to be someone from a swing state. And Arizona is a swing state. Josh Shapiro for a VP from PA. I mean, yeah, Pennsylvania is a swing state, but it's also way more often blue than it is red. People say I prefer Buttigieg or Whitmer. You guys, you can't even spell his last name right. You know what I was laughing at? I made a video on TikTok today, and it was about Joe Biden stepping down, and I was asking people who they would want to see running. And so many people said Pete Buttigieg, but they like literally not a single person spelled his last name right. And I mean, it went from like Pete, like, but a judge, like, like people would just like go but and then like add whatever it is that makes it sound remotely related to Buttigieg. It was like the funniest thing ever. I mean, we can't have a president whose last name we can't even spell. Like, that's just not good. You know, this is not a good look. So, or like a vice president, you guys either like we either need to collectively start like knowing how to spell his name. We need to like collectively learn how to spell his name, or like it's just not gonna happen because it's not good. But yeah, I think a lot of people like Buttigieg and a lot of people like Mark Kelly. Those are the options I've seen the most. I know, so I know Mark and I know John also would like Whitmer because John is from her state, but I don't think she's very widely known or widely liked. I also don't think, like, the problem is that America is so behind in terms of like women in office and women taking high postulated jobs that, unfortunately, and this is super misogynistic, but I don't think that a campaign of two women is something that will succeed in this country right now. So I think that she needs a man running with her, because there are going to be men who are not going to vote because these are two women, and there are going to be many men who will vote because at least there is a guy on her team. So, and also, again, like, I don't think Whitmer is very well known. I think Mark Kelly is well known. I think Gavin Newsom is well known. I think Buttigieg is well known, but also I do see people being judgmental towards him being gay. However, I also do see Democrats really rallying behind him because he's gay. But to be fair, I do think that it's going to be between Kelly, Buttigieg, and probably like Gavin Newsom or something. I really hope that she does choose a really good running mate, because she's not She's not charismatic. Like her likability is in the toilet, unfortunately. She's not, I think she like, I mean, I think the issue is that she thought she'd be really good for this type of job and she just sort of wasn't, and she's our only option, and or like she's the best option we have, and I think that she really needs a very strong VP. And Newsom can't be it because he's from California. Oh, exactly. I mean, California is also not a swing state. So yeah, Mark Kelly and Pete Buttigieg. I think that's she might not be the nominee. Well, she might not be, but Biden already endorsed her. So it'd be really, really freaking weird if they didn't go with her. Also, here is the thing, like they will have to raise new campaign money if they have an absolutely new person running, and she can use his campaign money. So there is that. On John Aravosa's stream earlier, the consensus was that Pete Buttigieg would be too young. See, I absolutely hate that because that's America's problem. That is literally one of the biggest issues in America, is that we love to put old dudes in office. We love to put guys that look like they're about to that they're going to walk up to a coffin and just like magnetically get in there in office. Okay. We love to put dudes in office who were like old when women's rights became a thing. We love to put dudes in office who sniff you and your hair, and we just forgive that because, you know, that was a normal thing to do in the 1800s when they were like young and taught how to behave around women. Like, we legitimately love to put taxidermy material in office. And that's a problem. People who are in their late 30s or their early 40s or their late 40s are not too fucking young. Those are the people who would be building this country. Because, right, like they're going to be living through it. Like someone who's 80 or 70, and like, I don't mean it in like, some people live till 100, some people live till 120. But the reality of the things is that like, you likely already had a career, you have your savings, you have your home, you have like all of these things set for you, right? People in their 30s and 40s are setting these things for their future. So they actually care, like people care for making change. People in their 70s care for preserving their environment and their comfort, mostly. And that's just the reality. And I'm not saying every single person, but I'm saying that the majority of people do, because that's just like cycles of life, right? It's like people in like who are teenagers don't think about anything and they're difficult and they think they're like the most, I don't know, literate people on the planet. People in office should be people that are going to be employing change that they themselves want to see and live through. You know what? I'm not going to respond to that comment, but the thing is, like, I love when people tell me, like, I speak like this. This is my manner of speech. I'm sorry, Jens or Jens, that you don't like my hands and they're too much for you, but this is how I speak. And I can't speak any other way. And I'm not going to sit here and put my hands in a lock and make myself uncomfortable to make you comfortable. People are so freaking crazy in that way when they tell people to change things about them that are parts of their existence. It's like, does that take away from my point? Does it make my point any less valid? Or is this just a criticism because you can do that? It's just a criticism because you can do that. It's like people telling me how to dress, or people telling me they don't like my shirt, or people telling me that, I don't know, I have cleavage because I want more attention from men, which is not something that most women ever fucking think of when they get dressed in the morning, because it's just our bodies and we don't look at them the same way. It's like, if you don't like my shirt, you don't like my hand gestures, like keep that to yourself, because this is not adding any value to anything I'm saying. It's not adding any value to the conversation. Also, guys, can you please stop attacking a person just because they said something really, 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 really like annoying? But this is not helping. This is not helping because it's an unsolicited opinion that also comes off very condescending. I did not ask how to increase my public speaking abilities or something like that. You just went ahead and decided to say something that would be not useful, would distract from a point. And you said that because people tend tend to treat people on screen like robots that are supposed to fit all of your expectations. We're people. I'm a person. The reason why I don't put on makeup and get super ready for these lives is because I'm not an anchor at like a news channel. I'm not supposed to be perfect. I do these things because I talk from the heart, and I talk from my own perspective, from my knowledge, and from my experience. And it is really distracting, and it is really annoying, and it is really upsetting when people try to like do these things, because it's just not, it's not helpful to anyone. It just makes me feel self-conscious. And instead of talking about the subject that I want to be talking about, I'm spending like 15 minutes talking about this. And every single time now that I'm going to want to say something and I'm going to be passionate about what I'm saying, I am going to be sitting, and in the back of my head, I'll be thinking, are my hands annoying someone? This is how I speak. People speak in different ways. This is not like, leave these types of comments to yourselves. And I don't mean only to me. I mean to other people who do live streams. Don't tell people what to wear. Don't tell people how to behave unless they're being disrespectful, or they're being or they're being like, I don't know, mean or something like that. Don't tell people what to do, especially if they didn't ask for it. Hey guys, can you block Corvinus21, because I, in no mood to deal with trolls. And also, please stop being mean to someone just because they said something. Like, genuinely, I love you. I know my mods are fantastic and they're so protective and stuff, but like sometimes when I say something and I'm like, hey, I didn't like what this person said, but they weren't being like a complete asshole, you guys literally attack them. Don't. And I don't mean that just for mods. I mean that for everyone. No one deserves to be attacked. I think it's fine, Okay, so yes, I think that Mark Kelly is a likely nomination, and I think that maybe Buttigieg would be a likely nomination. But also, yes, I hate that people think that he's too young. He's not too young, and people like him should not be too young. That's one of the issues in America. Again, we put corpses in office, and no offense to anybody who is in their 70s or 80s, but the point is that that should not be the age of being elected into office, because the age of driving change is 30. The age of driving change is 40. The age of driving change maybe 50. But that's the thing. There is the difference, right? It's not about your physical age or what you're physically capable of or how healthy you are. It's about the fact that people later in life tend to want to preserve their environment and their comfort. People earlier in life tend to want to drive change and change their environment and change their comfort. And we're seeing that. We're even seeing that with Joe Biden. It's he's so scared of taking decisions that could be like a leap of faith. He's so scared of doing anything drastic. He's just constantly trying to be in the safe comfort zone. And it's really bad, because we don't want that. We want people who are driven. We want people who want to change things. We want people who are looking at the world as not something only for their children and grandchildren, but also something for them to keep existing for decades and decades to come in. So it's sort of, it's just yeah, can we please stop thinking that 30 and 40 is too young for office and start thinking, maybe white men in their 60s are a little too old for office. And yeah, and I mean 60 is not even bad. 60 is not old by any means. I think, yeah, 70s, 80s is probably don't run, but in general, why can't we just start endorsing people that are young and, young? 38 is not too young for office. Most of Ukraine's office is in their early 40s, late 30s. 90s, no. No. Let's not. Guys, I don't think I don't think you're getting there. Okay, like we're not saying let's change the age range from 70s and 80s to 90s. We're talking about like going back in time. 30s, 40s, like 35 plus. Yeah, but that's because white men in their 60s is literally most of our congressmen. Prove me wrong. White men in their 60s is what most of our government in America is comprised of. And like that's fine. There could be some, but can we like have some diversity? I know Finland's prime minister just did a swimming race because he's 40. I'm so jealous. I mean, good on him. Born in the 90s. Born in the 90s is fine. Rishi Sunak and Keir Starmer were combined like 85. Yeah, I mean, Rishi Sunak is not a great example, though. Like, I mean, I guess we love him on Ukraine's issues, but I think he's not, well, I don't think, I know he's not very, well liked in the UK, and for good reasons. Do we have diversity in Ukraine? Well, Ukraine was a monoracial country up until almost monoracial. Ukraine was mostly like a monoracial country up until like the fall of the Soviet Union. The only other like big sort of, I guess, like minority of people that we had were Krim Tatars, and we still do, of course. But right now, Ukraine is only just starting to become diversified. So, I mean, we have lots of women in the parliament in Ukraine. That's one of the markers of diversity. We do not have openly LGBTQ. We don't have openly LGBTQ people in Ukraine in the government because, well, that's still a shaky issue here. Someone says we need some strong Black leaders in Ukraine. We do have a Black leader in our parliament. We do not have, so this is like a strange thing to say because we have a very, very, very little population of, like, let's say, African Ukrainians or Black people in Ukraine. So it's sort of like, I feel like this comment is not meant to bring any sort of discussion to the table, and it's not meant to bring anything valuable. I feel like it's meant to make me say something shitty in order for like a troll to get what they want. Yeah, I see. That's exactly what it is. It's a troll. One, that's remarkable. Yeah, because the population of Black people in Ukraine is less than 1%. So yeah, I mean, the fact that there is one, that's exactly what it is. And you know what? I was so right. You guys are suffering from lack of culture. We invite all cultures into our country. But because we were in the Soviet Union and only got out of it 30 years ago, we were not necessarily a place where people could openly enter because it was actually forbidden and very difficult. And then after the Soviet Union collapsed, we had a 10-year very bad economic low. So people didn't necessarily want to move to Ukraine. And then we fucking had a war. So you know what? It wasn't really like an environment where people wanted to move to. And I think your time is up. I love how I know exactly why these trolls are saying what they're saying. But unfortunately for you, little troll, I'm not a racist piece of shit. So you did not get what you wanted to get out of this conversation. Okay. Putin's bet on U.S. disinterest in Ukraine, according to the New York Times. Putin is counting on the weakening of U.S. interest in Ukraine, which could be a winning bet, according to the New York Times. Journalists note that the U.S. presidential race and political crisis could play in Putin's favor. President Biden, Ukraine's key ally, is under pressure from fellow Democrats to withdraw from the race, while his opponent, Donald Trump, a leading poll candidate, has chosen one of the strongest critics of U.S. aid to Kyiv as his running mate. Oh yeah, J.D. Vance. It is awful. And of course, like, Trump is like, I hate the New York Times lately, not lately, but since the beginning of the full-scale invasion, they have been awful. And they love to publish Russian disinformation, and they love to play into Putin's games. It's like honestly chilling how much. But oh, sorry. Hmm. But it's really very evident that Trump is just working with Russia and prefers Russia and has lots of ties to Russia because, first of all, both Trump and Vance had so much like shit to say about each other. Both of them have been speaking about one another in like the least favorable terms in the past 4 years. And you want to tell me that suddenly he just chooses Vance as his running mate because he changed his mind and Vance suddenly likes Trump? Come on. Ukraine is on the way to stand on its own feet militarily, U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken. During a security forum in Aspen, Blinken noted that more than 20 other countries have pledged to maintain military and financial aid to Ukraine, even if the U.S. ends its support under another president. For the first time, Blinken directly touched on the possibility that former President Donald Trump could win the elections in November and retreat from his commitments to Ukraine. The Secretary of State said that any new administration will have to take into account Ukraine's strong bipartisan support in Congress. Each administration has the opportunity, of course, to establish its own policy. We cannot guess in advance. However, fortunately, there are more than 20 countries that support Ukraine, said Blinken, speaking of the security agreements that Kyiv has concluded with other partners. According to Blinken, Ukraine is on the way to standing on its own feet militarily, economically, and democratically. And he's right. I mean, that's what I was always saying. It's, of course, it's incredibly. Of course, we need the US, but we also have all of Europe. And we have, like, since the beginning of the full scale invasion, I think so much has been done to establish Ukraine as not just, very dependent on the US, but also having allyships everywhere. So, I mean, losing the US as a partner would be bad, but it would not be like deathly. It would be drastic, but it wouldn't be the end of it. And Europe is going to have our back no matter what the US thinks. Also, if, oh my gosh, Trump wins the election, I think Europe is going to be livid and I think the world order is really going to change. Yeah. So there is that. Also, just as a gentle reminder, so the fundraiser for my classmate, he opened it up to public on his own page. We have the link. We have the link to the fundraiser somewhere in the comments on YouTube. I will ask you guys to post it again if you can. And it's to the Monobank jar. If he's basically around $1,500 away, and we have just raised $125 out of the $1,500. If you wanted to contribute to the fundraiser, you are welcome to do so through the Monobank jar link in the YouTube comments, or you can send it to me. Oh, we actually are at more than that. Thank you, Mashbook. We are at $178. I'm glad I checked Venmo. We are at $178.69 because, of course, we are. Why wouldn't we be? I just got a 69-cent donation, you guys know. So if you would like to contribute, you can do so through PayPal, Venmo, or Revolut in my link in bio on both TikTok and YouTube. Sorry. Oh my gosh. And I will announce obviously every donation as it comes. Thank you very much to everyone who donated. And yeah, he's $1,500 away. The fundraiser is for electronic warfare equipment. The whole total was 300,000 hryvnias, which is a lot more than we initially planned for. And I obviously could, we couldn't raise that anytime soon. So the fundraiser was open to like larger, broader public as well, and looks like it was very well received, but it has stagnated recently. So, and I haven't been going live often, so it's been, I haven't really been a very good friend in terms of fundraising for him lately because I've been doing lives like once in 5 days because it's been scorching hot and I've had electricity for 2 hours a day or like 4 hours a day maximum. So anyways, now done with the excuses. If you'd like to fundraise, PayPal, Venmo, Revolut in my link in bio, or someone, can you, I'm asking one of the mods to please copy and paste the link to the Monobank jar in the YouTube comments again. So if people wanted to donate straight there, they could. Also, spoiler alert, if you're not from Ukraine and you're trying to donate through Monobank, usually it won't let you do that. If you use a debit card, it will only let you do that with a credit card, which is very weird, but that's how it works. I don't know what it is. Hungary faces a fuel crisis as Ukraine increases pressure on Russian oil supplies, says Politico. In June, Kyiv imposed sanctions against Lukoil and banned the company from transiting oil to Central Europe. In Budapest, there are fears of a supply shortage as 70% of oil imports come from Russia, with half of this volume supplied by Lukoil. I mean, I don't know, maybe you should have started looking for other suppliers like the rest of the world did when the full-scale invasion started, but no, you're a Russian shill that supports Russia, so it's a self-inflicted crisis. Ukrainian measures can create a difficult situation, said Ilona Gizinska, a researcher and expert from Hungary at the Center for Eastern Studies. She believes that Hungarians could face skyrocketing energy prices and power shortages within weeks if no solution is found. Yeah, the solution would be to maybe start diverting yourself from Russia like the rest of the world did, instead of looking for excuses as to why you should stay with Russia and Ukraine is to blame. Russia is sanctioned all over the world, and if Hungary is facing a fuel shortage because they're exclusively buying oil and gas from Russia, then that is the issue of them buying oil and gas from Russia, then Ukraine sanctioning Russia and most of the world sanctioning Russia. It's like the thing is, like, Hungary doesn't stop buying oil from Russia, not because, they have nowhere else to buy it from. They're buying oil from Russia because, first of all, they're on Russia's side in all of this, and they're the traitor of Europe. And honestly, I don't have anything positive to say about the Hungarian government, because it's very clear that Orbán is an enemy within, right? And there is an enemy in Europe, and that enemy is Orbán because he's fully very much pro-Russian. Poor Orbán. I don't consider him poor, I think he's a very rich old white dude who is pro-Putin and really is only in power because Putin helps him hold that power. And of course, he's never going to be, against Daddy Putin in any way, because that's his ticket to staying in power. So yeah. Due to Russia's attacks on the energy infrastructure, every time the lights come on, it brings utter joy to Ukrainian children. Actually, yes, it's such a sweet video, and so every time the lights come on, Ukrainian kids just like lose their mind. I mean, to be honest, I lose my mind. So like, I used to get so annoyed in the first days of like when the power cuts started happening. Every time the electricity comes back, my fridge and my stove and my oven make this like noise, and it's such an annoying noise, right? And especially when we had power most of the time, and it would come on, it would like come on. I'm just like, oh my God, come on again, right? And then when the power was gone for like 8 to 9 hours a day, and then you were just sitting there waiting for it, and it finally comes back on, it's like the best sound. I love that sound. It like warms my heart. In a column for the Daily Mail, former British Prime Minister Boris Johnson revealed a peace plan for Ukraine proposed by former US President Donald Trump. The plan involves Ukraine regaining its borders as of February 24th, 2022. It also guarantees Ukraine's accession to both EU and NATO. Additionally, the Ukrainian army would take the place of approximately 70,000 American soldiers currently stationed at US bases in the EU, serving as protection against Russia and other aggressors. This move is expected to significantly reduce costs for the United States. Johnson expressed his belief that Trump has the ability to end the war on terms favorable to Ukraine and the West. So, oh, that's fantastic. So Ukraine would regain its borders as of February 24th, 2022. As of? So as in like when Russia already invaded our territory. Also, at that point, Russia was like pushing onto Kyiv. And I do not believe this for a moment because Trump has been saying from the very beginning that he wants Ukraine to surrender its territories and that's how he would do it. No, Trump does not have any favorable plans for Ukraine. Trump praises Putin literally every time he can. He brings Putin up in a conversation and praises him. Trump praises dictators. Trump wants people. He was like, thank you, Joe, for resubscribing. Trump was literally saying that he wants people to listen to him the same way they do to Kim Jong-un. I'm sorry. Also, Boris Johnson had a really good stance on Ukraine, right? But also Boris Johnson is a horrible politician that no one in the UK liked. And you know, I love how his true colors are coming out. His true colors are really coming out. That's so funny. During a previous, basically last night, the Russians launched a new attack drone on Kyiv, reports Defense Express. The drone operated at an ultra-low altitude of 20-30 meters and had speed comparable to another strike drone of the Shahed type. Yeah, Russians have been inventing, well, obviously, they've been producing more drones, and they're actually, with some of the air alerts for drones, we have been having like usually they'll say, oh, like Shaheds are, incoming or something like that. And lately we've been having more and more unknown aerial vehicles coming in. So these are new Russian drones that they're likely testing. Germany is confronting a very real threat from the Russian Federation, necessitating a significant increase in the military budget for 2025, as stated by German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius. I mean, also your like budget for literally combating Russian spies should be increased, and your secret services should be doing a much, much better job because Germany is infiltrated from like top to bottom by Russian agents. And it's obviously one of the easier targets for Russian agents because Germany has so many Russians in general living in Germany and working in Germany and taking high positions in Germany because of, the Berlin Wall. The Ministry of Defense of Great Britain has announced that the country will resume the production of artillery barrels for Ukraine. This includes 155mm self-propelled guns AS-90 and towed 105mm howitzers L119. Sheffield Forgemasters, a British company known for producing some of the largest and most technically complex cast and forged steel parts in the world, will assist in this production effort. Russia continues to recruit Cubans to fight in Ukraine despite opposition from Havana. Volunteers are enlisting through unofficial channels, and the total number of combatants is likely to be in the hundreds, although exact details are difficult to ascertain, the source said. Generous payments offered by the Russian military attract impoverished Cubans. Some are also interested in the prospect of obtaining a Russian passport after Russian dictator Vladimir Putin signed a decree in January allowing foreigners to receive citizenship in exchange for military service. Cuban officials are sending conflicting signals about the war in Ukraine, hours after Cuba's ambassador to Moscow said in September that the government had no objection to Cuban citizens joining the Russian military. Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez said Havana's unequivocal position was against participation. After 17 people were arrested in September in connection with an alleged human trafficking ring that lured Cubans to fight for Russia, the Foreign Office said that Cuba is not part of the conflict in Ukraine and would act resolutely to stop any recruitment campaigns. I mean, that comes after, India was very vocal, talking to Russia about how they've been tricking Indians into fighting in Russia. So they offer Cubans and Indians both these sort of high-paying jobs in the Russian military that are supposed to be in the rare, and then they get there and it is actually a frontline job. They never get paid and they basically are used as bullet meat. Also, thank you, Dave, for $10. We are at $188.69. So Russia is doing this campaign in Cuba as well. Also, Andrew says, I don't think he's ever said most of those things in so many words. These are mostly uncharitable interpretations and political talking points, talking about Trump. So I will actually disagree with you because he said he could end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. He can't end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours, giving Ukraine territories back, putting Ukraine into NATO and the EU. That's simply impossible. The only way that you end the war in 24 hours is when you capitulate Ukraine to Russia. Also, he's not going to be able to give Ukraine its territories back by negotiating with Putin because no one will. Putin needs to be defeated. Also, Putin doesn't want Ukraine to be in the EU or NATO. And it doesn't matter if it's Trump or Biden saying that, Putin is not going to agree to it. So it's like Trump is saying that he has this ability to end the war with these things. Like, no, the only way to end the war with these terms is to defeat Russia. Trump doesn't have that ability. Trump doesn't have some superpower talking to Putin. Putin is using him as a freaking scapegoat. But like Trump has this ego thing where he thinks he's special. He's not special. No one's freaking special to Putin. No one in America is special to Putin unless they're useful to Putin's agenda, which Trump is. Putin won't see it that way. So Andrew says, personally, I think he imagines himself as such an awesome deal maker that he can convince Putin to do whatever he says. I agree that Putin won't see it that way. Putin thinks he's an idiot. Like, literally, the only reason that Putin likes Trump would like Trump to become the president of the US is because he's a dummy who Putin can easily manipulate and has been. In fact, there is so much proof that the 2016 election was largely aided by Russian bot farms. The US is unable to increase the production of Patriot missiles at Japanese factories. According to Reuters, the reason is the shortage of key components produced by the American company Boeing. To assemble more PAC-3 missiles, more homing heads for these missiles are needed. At the same time, new assembly lines at the Boeing plant, which will make it possible to do this, will only start operating in 2027. The agency notes. According to the interlocutor of Reuters, Washington wants to increase the production of PAC-3 missiles on a global scale from 500 to more than 750 units per year as quickly as possible. You don't think that may also be true of Biden? No, Biden has no guts in that way. That's sort of what it is. Like, Biden is not playing into Putin's favor. Biden is just going through like 7 stages of acceptance, like most of world's politicians are, because everyone like is scared of Russia because they have this like residue from the Soviet Union, and they treat Russia as if it was still as powerful as the Soviet Union. And this is me coming back to the idea that we should stop putting old men who are in their 80s in power because they live in a different freaking world, because their worldview was forming in a different world. Heroyam slava. Germany must protect itself and Baltic partners from Russia. German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock on the deployment of American Tomahawk cruise missiles in Germany. I mean, you guys know I love Annalena Baerbock. I think she has some of the largest balls in the German parliament, and I think that a lot of people underestimated her. When she just got to power, because people thought she was young and she wasn't going to be like very pushy. She's not going to be super opinionated. She's just going to be like, tailing behind her older or male colleagues. And I think that she's proved everyone wrong, because she has been so vocal. She has had such great ideas and she's been standing on them. She's fantastic. I love Annalena Baerbock. I think she's amazing. The German Association of Journalists, Netzwerk, I can't. Netzwerk Recherche, has expelled Hubert Seipel, the author of Vladimir Putin's biography, from its ranks. Oh, thank you. The organization stated that Seipel violated the basic rules of independent journalism and severely undermined trust in our profession. Seipel's expulsion follows revelations that he received payments from the Russian Federation, which Netzwerk described as contrary to all rules of journalistic honesty and professionalism. Of course, if he is getting paid to write Putin's biography by Russia, of course it's going to be in a favorable light, and that's a German journalist, so he deserved that expulsion more than anyone. And that's not a biography, that's a paid for fluff piece. Also, where are we at with donations? We are at $188.69. There's $1,500 left on my classmates fundraiser for EW equipment. The fundraiser itself is literally about like $8,000 altogether, and there is only $1,500 left. So if we could raise that, that would be very fantastic. The day before, the Russians may have used a new type of drone during their attack on Ukraine, according to Defense Express. In the morning, summary from the Air Force of the Armed Forces of Ukraine on repelling another air attack, an unspecified type of UAV, was mentioned alongside Shahed-type attack drones. An initial image of the wreckage of this new drone surfaced online, showing significant differences from the Shahed 136 type. The drone reportedly flew at an extremely low altitude of 20-30 meters, suggesting it was likely a kamikaze drone, as per Defense Express. Defense Express claims to have obtained additional photos from its own sources, showing the downed drone with a possible wingspan of over 4 meters, beam-like tail fins, a thruster, and a square profile fuselage. These features might resemble the Russian Zala 42120, which has some similar characteristics. However, the Zala 42120 is a reconnaissance UAV and is unlikely to fly at such a low altitude. Additionally, such drones are not widely distributed and are unlikely to be in production yet. Currently, the wreckage of the drone is under investigation to establish the manufacturer and the components used in assembly. That's very interesting that that was the case, and that they're still trying to identify what type of a drone it was. I mean, it's probably Russian Zala drones that were just being produced somewhere else, or maybe like an Iranian drone that was that Russia and Iran worked on together. Obviously, we have a lot of intelligence information, but at the same time, we can't know everything, right? And Russia has Iran and North Korea and other dictatorships to help them work on these things. So we can't necessarily have all the right intel in terms of all of the things that they have been making. The only thing that we know is that if it's made there, it's usually cheaply made. It doesn't necessarily do the job in the best way possible because, again, all the components and ingredients, all the components and all the chips and stuff like that are either rerouted or taken from like washing machines. And usually they try to make things fast, cheap, and crappy just to produce as many as they can. Quantity, not quality. Armin's quote of the day is up somewhere in the comments, so I'm going to go find it and then read it to you. Okay, or is it quote of the day, or is it a comment about a senator? 1 second. I think that there is one. Okay. The saga of the people of Vansdalur, one of the Icelandic sagas, contains this very wise sentence. There is more honor in accumulating little by little than in reaching for the sky and ending up flat on your face. In politics and business and many other areas of life, it is better to be practical and achieve something than to be idealistic and achieve nothing. This is especially important in times of political turmoil. I agree with that, actually. It's a phrase. We have something very similar in Ukraine where it's like sort of, it's kind of like, don't take a jump too high, I mean, we have quite a few sayings actually that have that same meaning, and I do agree with that. I think that you don't set, like, you set a very large goal, right, and then you set small goals to get to that large goal instead of just like having this one massive goal that seems unattainable. It's good for everything, to be honest. It's like if you want to clean your entire apartment, you break it down into sections, and then you can achieve it. Because if you just look at all the mess around you, you're like, I don't even know where to start. So yeah. Uh, baby steps. Yeah, that's a good interpretation too. All right. Well, that's all the news I've had for you for today. I'm sure that this week's, end of the week recap probably is going to be wild, because of, we're probably going to get our presidential nominee. The early ballots are going out in about 8 weeks. So yeah, I think the Democrats are really gonna push on that gas pedal, really gonna speed up. So good to see you guys. Let's if you do have the ability to donate, my classmate is only $1,500 away from his goal, and we have raised $188.69 on the live today, unless someone sent a Venmo, let me check, or a Revolut that I didn't see. Oh yes, someone did. See? Okay, thank you, Douglas. A $25 Venmo, which brings us to $213.69. So, woohoo, thank you. That is actually amazing. And let me check Revolut as well. Maybe I missed something there, but I doubt it. There is usually only one donor that uses Revolut, one really amazing person, and I don't think they were on the live. Might be more in Venmo. Oh, thank you, Doug. But thank you guys so very much. I will be updating you on the fundraiser. I might be going. Live tomorrow or the day after. Actually, probably not. We'll see. The day after, I'm recording quite a bit of material for the new show that's finally going to be airing on the new channel, and we'll talk about it tomorrow as well. And I will see you guys later. Bye. Bye. Okay. And